Hello! It's been a little bit since I've just recorded a video for YouTube. But, I was recommended this game, Beecarbonize. And, I don't really think that there's too much on it that I've seen. So I'm gonna record my, 20th win in a row on normal and kind of talk about how you can beat the game pretty quickly. So first thing, I'm not going to be giving like an overall tutorial of the game. This is more of like a little bit farther in. But just for some basics, you got your 4 sections here. Industry will generate money. Ecosystem will also generate money, but it does so typically on some different levels, so a lot slower. People are another resource that they generate people. But also, whenever you generate a person, they cost 1 money. And make sure you have a money for it. And then there's science, which generates its own thing. So there's a couple of mechanics in the game that are not super clear at first. 1, you can actually destroy cards. And this is important because if you look at this 20th century industry, right? So this is the speed which determines how much it influences your generation. Your generation is here. This is represented by these arrows, right? So I don't have any generation for ecosystems, nothing for science, but industry, I have some because of my 20th century industry, and people just has some innate. So, also a useful button to click are these two. This one will give you kind of like your stats, and this one will the most important thing here for me is just looking at this number, just seeing how much I'm actually producing per round, because it can get a little confusing. Alright, so I have been winning a lot. I am on my 19th win, I'm getting the 20th win in a row achievement in a moment, and I just kind of wanted to give a quick little guide on how to win, like, pretty quickly. This is sort of, I guess, a build order. So first, I immediately pause, and I start making renewables. Also, I just put the rest of my money into science funding. I also set the speed to this faster one, and I pause with space, so you're going to hear me press that a lot. So then, as soon as this is made, I get ready for wind energy. By making the science funding, some buildings have a bonus for as soon as you build them, right? So, once we make the science funding, we get 1, which puts us in a really good spot just to make this wind energy. Now, we're not going to make this right now. We have to wait. We have to wait for another cycle because these people need a money. So I'm going to sit here with it already pre-selected, hold down, and create and pause when it gets to it, and immediately make it. Now we need to wait a little bit. But we're immediately going to select it again and get ready to make solar energy. And we're going to, once again, wait a little bit. We're not going to make it just yet. We're going to make it now. Because we need to increase our capacity by clicking here. So now, we're in a really good spot on money generation. And here you should also be approaching your first tipping point, which is this marker right there. You can make a little decision here based on what event you're about to get, because we should be getting our first crises soon. Alright, we didn't. So what that means is that I feel a bit more comfortable just getting rid of that and making our hydro energy. So the reason why we make 1 of each here is because whenever you make a card, making it again will cost more. So, as an example, this solar energy before cost 2 and then 1, and now it costs 3 and 2. right? So there's like a loss of efficiency of making the same thing twice, unless the card's like really good. There are some cards that are really good, and we're gonna do that. So now that we have a bit more generation, and we're not generation, you saw me destroy the industry. That's because it generates 20 emissions, and that's a lot. Now, because I still haven't gotten an event, and I'm getting pretty close to this emission, so I'm 6 away, I'm actually going to take a little bit of time right now, and I'm going to make this nature conservation. And I haven't made societal change yet. And in fact, I don't think I'm going to, because I'm going to try Oh, I was really hoping I could get that out before this happened. Alright, but this is fine. There are a couple of things you can get here in this first one, but for the most part, I would recommend just kind of paying them out. It's simple, there's probably a better method. I'm not super concerned about it. Here's the problem though. Now I let people starve. You need to pay off this one. People starving, if you see this after expired this, it means that if you don't do it, you will just lose. That is like the biggest threat to this strategy, is just mismanaging your money and your people. As long as you're just a little bit cautious about it, you don't need to worry too much. So, I want to do societal change, but when I do it, I want to make sure I have 4 or 5 money. Because I'm going to make it, and then I'm immediately going to put money into lifestyle changes. So, as soon as I make the societal change, my rate of production of people increases. But that has an adverse relationship with my money, right? Because every time I make a person, I lose a bit of money, right? So, when there's only a 10-second gap between these, it means that my money is like really hurting. So I make lifestyle changes, which actually has a down arrow. So it actually decreases my production. It puts me back at 91 seconds. For like this early part, I really care a lot more about my money than I do my people, because it's just a bit more flexible. Now, because I got rid of my industry, I'm only doing 3 emissions per round. So I really don't need to worry about as much about crises. A lot of times you're going to have like a lot more events and stuff, but because I just have so little going on, I really don't have a lot. And we want to minimize those because a lot of them aren't really going to help us. Some of them actually do help us because they will give us cards, like how we got this Nature Engineers. We got this Nature Engineers because we filled a condition on that tipping point card. And this is okay. It's not the best thing we could have gotten, but we at least got something out of it. So now we are mostly just waiting. And what are we waiting for? We're waiting for just a little bit more resources to come in, honestly. We're actually gonna do my simple version of my strategy, which means that we're just going to wait to get the Sahara solar field. And again, do not just complete this, wait for one. You can, if you really cared about being more efficient, then you can, figure it out. Also, I did it wrong. But as long as you've got people stockpiling, which is is another part of the strategy here, that like we don't actually make a whole lot that takes people, then you're sitting fine. We're sitting good. So now we are once again waiting, and this time we are waiting to get hydro plants. Now we're starting to creep back up on our emissions, but it's really not that big of a concern because we're not planning on being here too long. So if you run into a situation like this, where again it says solve this and you're going to gain it, but you see I don't have enough room, you can solve it and then pause and see what you get. Like I got this nature restoration, which I am interested in keeping because I can go into protected landscapes. Protected landscapes is really, really good. The way that you would normally get there, by the way, is you buy here, nature conservation, nature restoration. Nature restoration goes to protected landscapes. And protected landscapes, we're gonna need more room over here, because we're gonna need some more money generation, so just go ahead and do that right now. Protected landscapes offers you biodiversity credits. This card is insane, because it allows you to reduce the emissions of your industry. So the other thing to really note about these places is that, let's say that I had minus 20 emissions on people right now. Well, that would be cool, but it only ever actually does that minus emissions once it fulfills like a round, right? So even if I had like minus 20 or minus 30 here, or yeah, if I had minus 30, I would be at around 0, because my industry happens in 20 seconds, but it does like 10 or 9 emissions, right? So like, it's really not as good. So reducing your emissions of your industry, which will typically be your fastest sector, is pretty huge. And not only is it reducing your emissions by 3, which basically makes up for the Sahara solar field, but it also is a double arrow, so it's worth more than these other 4. Which I paid a lot more than 6, currency and 4 people for. So now our economy is sitting pretty good. And we'll sort these out. Honestly, that was pretty good for us as well, because it gave us people. Sometimes you will have more events that end up draining your science or something. If that happens, and you haven't gotten any sort of emission control, you can, if you just want to be simple, you can get the emission cleaning. If you have an excess of people, then go science incubator, but only 1. And otherwise, if you really need them, then make a research center. But if you had to choose one, I would probably say the science incubator, just because it's so cheap. We're gonna need to make some more space there anyway. So, free emission control. Because we have so much money, I'm going to speed that process up, and I'm going to start making loss and damage aid. Loss and damage aid is actually going to give us, I believe, a bonus 2 people as soon as it's made. Oh, maybe it was 3. It's 3, which is pretty big. It also increases our people production, but we're fine because we're producing money very, very fast. Also, we got some lucky ecosystems. So this is just generating some free stuff for us. Now, I am actually going to make another biodiversity credit. And that's just because I want this to go by a little bit faster. Now, I've actually already passed the speedrun achievement point. I usually end up finishing around 70 or 80 right now when I do this, but that's also because I'm doing a pretty safe strategy, and this is just kind of what I've found works pretty consistently. But I was a little unlucky with some of the other events. Typically speaking, I would have expected to spend some more science by this point. So, depending on what your resources are looking like and what your generation's looking like, you'll either choose donut economy or degrowth. Personally, I end up leaning a lot more towards donut economy. Donut economy will actually generate more. It'll generate the same amount of people, whereas compared to degrowth, will regenerate a lot less. And typically speaking, I find that I have more science than I do extra money. especially since my extra money I can put into another loss and damage aid to increase my people production. So I have enough money for my win condition for this one. This star means that you're going to a win condition, by the way. Again, I don't mean for this to be like a tutorial on how to play the game. I'm mostly just trying to give people some tips for winning pretty quickly. So now, I have like a ton of money. So I'm just going to make another loss and damage aid, which is going to give me a burst of people, but also increase my production. Now, this is like pretty scary, having this kind of people production, but I'm not going to be here long enough to care. Also, you can hold down. Alright, so now that's making, and I don't even actually have to worry about these, but I will still do it, and there we go, there's the win. And also, there's my achievement for 20 wins in a row. On easy, this is all that you need. You honestly don't even actually need to make any ecosystems, you don't even need to get rid of your industry, but your win will be a lot simpler, I think, if you do this kind of strategy. You don't need to get these biodiversity credits. You can instead just get some more renewables, and you know, it'll be a little bit closer, it'll maybe be a little bit scarier. I really recommend this. It's super safe. It's pretty fast. You know, I just did this in 16, 17 minutes. So yeah, I mean, this game is pretty fun. Go check it out. But if you somehow find yourself watching the video, thanks for watching. I'm sorry. Bye!